Hi everyone, how are you? Oh my god, I can't believe we're finally doing this like virtual summit. I've been planning this since last month and I wanted to create an event that really makes people understand what embodiment actually means because there's a lot of conversation on, embody this, embody that. And it's not really talked about what it looks or feels like to go through the process of embodiment and to get to the excuse me to get to the other side of embodiment. So I wanted to bring in different speakers each day, different perspectives on what embodiment looks like, the process of it. At the end of the day, it's about using your discernment. There are specific processes or beliefs that people don't subscribe to, such as shadow work and affirmations and all of that. At the end of the day, I'm presenting different perspectives, and you can choose the one that resonates the most. So let's introduce our lovely speaker today, Deeksha. Hi, can you just give us a quick overview on who you are, where you're from?
Perfect. Yes. I am Deeksha. I go by Isha on socials. You can find my page by Isha on Instagram. I have been doing coaching and manifestation stuff for the last 2, 3 years right now. I am based in Maharashtra, India. I am a law student, a psychology student, and I specifically work with women in regards to their self concept as well as mindset.
Yeah, gotcha.
Work. That's okay, you're fine. Yeah, so I only work with women specifically. I do self concept and mindset work. It's been a long, long while I've been doing this for, and I think I enjoy it a lot because women in general bring so much of everything, like a lot of emotions,
Oh
a
yeah.
lot of experiences,
Hmm.
complicated, the humanness, the rawness that they bring. I absolutely love it. And yeah, that's about me. Also, I have three fur babies, so that's like the highlight of my life.
Oh no, I have a dog. I don't have fur babies. Me too. Okay. All right. So I'm so excited because today, sorry, I'm just fixing this. So today we're talking about identity and ego death. And I know that this is a conversation that has been going on a little bit recently, which is like what is ego death and rebirth and all of that. And it sounds like, it sounds scary. Like it's like the title ego death is scary, And I love that you focus a lot on self concept. I know some people say you don't need it. To me, I don't care whether or not you need it. To me, it's about yes, you can have whatever you want, no matter how you feel, but at the end of the day you do want to be your best self as much as possible. The relationship at the end of the day that you're getting or the career is about who you are when you have that thing, right? Because you can have everything you want and feel like absolute shit. I'm not here for that. I'm here for like the mindset, the elevation. And so I really froth over like the woman you have to have that success, to have that level of like being ready to even be seen. And I love identity work for that reason. And I know you love it too. People call it in different ways. People approach, at the end of the day, it is identity work, whether you choose to take the path of just affirmations, whether you choose to take the path of shadow work. So I'm interested to hear from you. What is your experience with identity work or ego deaths? And how do you know if it's actually an identity shifting process or if it's a process of you persisting in the old story and that's why you're feeling all those feelings again?
Right. Okay. I think I'll answer the last question first, which is where you asked, how do you know if it's really an identity shift or you're just, persisting more in the old story? What a lot of people actually believe is that if they have all these difficult emotions showing up, or if their old thoughts are persisting and giving them a headache, that means
Mhm.
they are existing in the old story, which is simply not true. An
Yeah.
identity shift is actually going to trigger the F out of you, and you are going to have complicated emotions, and you are going to have struggles, and you are going to have to push through it. I have this controversial opinion that identity shifts don't look easy, are not really about being in a flow state. It's actually persistent, consistent work, which is at times going to make you uncomfortable. So if it's looking too much
Mhm.
of a flowy state for you without any complications coming up and you are having to not fight anything at all, I do not believe that you're shifting them. Then you're continuing to persist in your old story. And an identity shift, the biggest part of it is just very focused attention to a particular event that has happened and how you want to change things about it. Event does not necessarily mean a particular specific event can be just how your life has been happening or how you have been living through.
Right.
So if you want to change all of that, you are going to have to be uncomfortable. You are going to have to give yourself new behaviors. I'm a big fan of behavior work. I do not
Yeah.
really, I'm not really, oh, you sit for one meditation, you will wake up as another person
Mhm.
kind of person.
Right.
I am like big on behaviors. So I think the consistent behavioral change, which is very much required for identity shifts, is crucial, and that makes you uncomfortable because it literally pushes you out of whatever you have been doing for as long as you can remember
Yeah.
at this point. So
Yeah.
that is how I decide whether you're actually changing or it's just, you faking it in a way.
Right. Yeah, and I totally agree with you because it's like, yeah, there's the perspective of like it doesn't have to be hard. And first, a lot of things that is true. It doesn't have to be hard. But when it's something that has such an emotional hold on you and you don't know who you are outside of it, that's who you've identified as
Yep.
all those years, it feels so hard sometimes to break free from that. It's kind of like I posted about this, I think, 2 months ago, where I said, think of identity work as like everything that you are, that you identify as currently outside manifestation. Like you identify with specific race, a specific maybe religion, your skin color. Imagine having to change all of that and changing your family and your cousins and your lineage. It as exciting as it can be, like, oh, I'm excited to move homes, you're still gonna have to get used to like, oh, you're actually gonna wake up in this bedroom. Actually, when you leave the house, this is the new coffee shop you're gonna be drinking from. This is the new street and the people that you're gonna be around. So it can feel uncomfortable. And I think this association that, oh my God, if it's uncomfortable, like I can just affirm it away, that in itself is a lack of self acceptance. And what I mean by that is like, I'm not saying romanticize pain. I'm speaking the opposite
Yeah.
of romanticizing pain. It's more so about a lot of people can only love themselves through success, can only love themselves through the persistence work that they're doing, can only love themselves when they're seeing change that they like. And it's interesting because we don't do that with our friends and our family or our partners. They can go through everything
And you can see that,
and they
oh
can
my god,
literally
I
like
need
even lash
to.
out at us and we still support them and we're still there for them. So when you're not holding that same space for yourself, eventually what happens is like you continue to like do the work, but then you're not fully integrating it. You're not fully like feeling the inner work is paying off because you're not sealing it with that acceptance. When there is an acceptance, resistance. And when there's resistance, you start to like get in your head too much about the process. And you start to wonder if you're doing it right. And oh my God, I'm getting frustrated with the process. And then you start to overanalyze the circumstances. So it's really a conversation of like identity work to move through it easier or to move through the ego deaths easier. It's going to be loving yourself the same way that you do when you're having that what's it called, when you have these downloads, when you see results in your reality, when you wake up and you feel good. So it's the real challenge is like that radical self-love and radical self-acceptance is through these moments. That's how you really train yourself to be new self.
Right. I would also go on to say that it's a lot about self trust, also, because a lot of people might be able to come in terms with self acceptance and self love and this and that, but it eventually has to build up to self trust because when it comes to, uncomfortable situations or how much you're able to take uncertainty, because new things bring uncertainty, let's be honest. Let's say you shift houses, you
Mhm.
don't know how you're going to like the next coffee place. It could be the worst coffee of your life or the best coffee of your life, and that is enough uncertainty. And whenever we come across uncertainty, a lot of us have this habit of running away from it, even if it's good, like
Mhm.
everything's going good, but good kind of uncertainty is also not something a lot of us prefer. And that is simply because of our lack of trust in ourselves. If something falls apart, are you capable of taking care of it? That's what it actually
Yeah.
boils down to. And I have seen this repeatedly with clients, that when they run away from certain things, it's not necessarily about how much they are liking that particular situation turning out for them. It's more about they're afraid that if, let's say, this thing falls apart, am I really capable of holding that blunder or taking care of that blunder? So, self acceptance, self love, and self trust, I think these three would be the pillars to, walk you or make your ego that a little bit smoother. It won't be easy, it won't be like effortless, but a little smoother, so that you can always come
Right.
back to it.
I can feel the eye rolls when people are like self-love, self-acceptance.
That you always get those. It's like, this is an everyday thing. A lot of people also believe self love is just lying around and doing nothing, and all those things. Like rest is somehow equals to self love, which is like the biggest lie being sold out there. You want to get healthy, great. Get up and go to the goddamn gym. Like that's what self love is going to look like in that moment for you. You actually showing up for yourself. If I say I love you, there's a partner I have, and I tell him continuously that, oh, I love you, I love you, I love you, and I do nothing, absolutely nothing for him. And then I continue saying, but I love him. That's how people have been dealing with self love lately, I feel. Which I don't know how good
Mm-hmm.
it
Right. So, if you can give us like an example of like what it looks like to go through an ego death versus, actually being repeating an old pattern, an old story, because I feel like this would like make it more clear of like what it looks like to be in it and how to move out of it. If you want to share a personal example or a client example, up to you. I think that would help a lot because watch is gonna be like, I still don't.
is. Right. I think this is one of my favorite stories to tell. This is from a client, and to say that she has had the worst experiences in her life is an understatement. I do remember I got on the first call with her, and it was a consultation call. We were talking about something. She goes on to tell me, "Acha, this has happened, that has happened, that has happened." She was telling me a series of events, and I was just sitting there wide eyed. You know, uh, what is wrong with you? Like, she had been in this relationship where this guy was abusive towards her physically, mentally, to an extent that he broke her wrist and this and that, all of the messy stuff, like the messiest things you can imagine. And she wanted to just leave the country at this point because of certain reasons, and she didn't want to, get legal stuff involved and blah blah blah. And when she came, she wanted to move out of the country and get a job in somewhere in Europe, if I'm not mistaken. And she told me that I don't want to talk about whatever has happened. I'm done with it. And now it's time for me to focus on the future, manifest the new job, manifest moving to the new city, getting my visa, and moving out of here. But as we started speaking more, I could really see that it's not a desire for her to go to that new city and find a new job and settle down there. It's more of a I want to run away from here situation for her. And I encouraged her to talk, and I encouraged her to actually go back to whatever had happened, and we spoke a lot about it. I think we worked for like 10, 11 months together, and we did a lot of revisiting, a lot of messy I'm sorry, if two S come together, I'm just like, I can't pronounce it. It's a tongue twister for me. Yeah, so those were quite a few messy sessions we had. And then I clearly remember this one day. She was always this person who went on to say, now it does not matter to me, now it does not matter to me, now it does not matter to me. And one day we were talking about something so intimate, and she just cried it out. I don't know
I
what got
hear
in
that.
her, but she cried.
So cute.
I'm so sorry. I tried to calm them down as
No,
much
no,
as
no, it's
possible,
okay.
but
It's okay. I'm just like, she needs a hug, you know?
yeah. So she just, went ahead with it, and she changed her decision of moving out of the country. She's actually pretty well settled in the country only right now. She is doing a job that she absolutely loves. And not just that, recently the last update that I had from her was that she got in a very good relationship, and she's thriving is an understatement. Now that is one example. I have similar example of another client who had equally terrible situations.
Right.
And you know what she would do? She would come
Right.
and she was actually crying about whatever had happened, but nothing actively happening in order to release it. Like, I get it, terrible things happen to you, terrible things have happened to all of us, but she was not actively making any effort to make it better. Whereas this client, even though she
Mm,
had her moment, she had
mm,
her crying thingy, she did stick to whatever we had decided. You know, next day she would wake up and she would do her EFT if we have decided that you have to do EFT in the morning.
right.
You know, she would sit through it. If she had an uncomfortable emotion coming up, she took care of that emotion. She didn't push it away, she didn't make it look like a villain, she didn't go around saying that life has been very unfair. And if she felt it has been very unfair, she just acknowledged it, validated it, and moved forward. The other one, on the other hand, she would come, and I do remember vividly, she would cry and cry and cry and cry. But that's all you're doing. You're pointing fingers at
Mm,
other people. You're pointing fingers at
right.
situations, circumstances, and this, and it does not take you anywhere. I think one of my
Right.
favorite things is all that you can change is within you. And if you go around saying this
Right.
person did this, and even though they have done
Yeah.
terrible things,
And I have my own perspective on that. And I think that is also going to make the ego death stuff make sense. First of all, we can't obviously remove the ego. Like, that's a part of you. It's like you can't remove the logical brain because you won't be alive if you remove the logical brain. You need the logical brain in order to survive, in order to be able to do things like, look left and right when you're crossing the street. Otherwise, you know. So
yeah.
sorry. Sorry. Um,
Good.
so what I mean to say is when it comes to this work, what I've seen with clients and with my own experiences here, sometimes you do need to quote unquote lash out in order to like process that experience, because what we tend to do is like we suppress the anger so much because we try to do healing in the
Yeah.
picture perfect aesthetic way that we see online. And the real stuff is like the messy parts in between, and the messy parts isn't the mistakes. The messy parts can sometimes be the processing that is happening. So there's a difference between for example, I messaged my own coach like 2 months ago. I was like, listen, I feel like I'm dying. I would love if you could support me and guide me through this through a different perspective and how to like hold versus, you see, this sucks. You see, this doesn't work out. And I mean this with all the love in the world, but a lot of times people F themselves up because mommy didn't love me when I was young. And this is not to dismiss or discount what you experienced. It's that at some point you have to realize like you're not that kid anymore. And making that excuse doesn't is just enabling yourself to stay in the same pattern. You can acknowledge what happened then, but then you've acknowledged. Move the fuck on. And I know it sounds easier said than done, but it's like what people get stuck. I'm validating myself. I'm validating myself. Okay, you validated it. Now what? What are the next steps forward? Now that you have validated it, how does this person acknowledge how she feels and continue to be the person who knows that she's now emotionally available, that it's okay for her to let love in, that she is now gentle with herself? Because otherwise, all you're doing is being your own parent, not loving yourself, abusing yourself through it, and just repeating the same cycle. So it's not really an excuse of like, mommy didn't love me and daddy did this, so that's why I'm going to stay with this way. There's a difference between having, um,
Holding people accountable and then just making
and
them
it's
the
more
of
so,
it.
there's a difference between having the self awareness versus self enabling. Awareness is like, oh, I know that the reason why I'm acting XYZ is a result of this. Now that I have self awareness, what are the next steps forward? And when I feel like I'm reverting back, what are the practices and the mindset shifts that I can implement? Versus, oh no, well, it's just, well, they did this to me. Girl, we get it. You had your lash out session last time. Now process that anger if you need to spend a week or two doing the forgiveness work or the surrender work or whatever it is that, best suits this person. Now you want to like continue to move forward. But as long as you're blaming people and saying, oh, because mommy did this and this happened to me, you're never going to actually move forward. And I had to like get real with myself and stop saying, oh, because I was bullied. It was a terrible experience. Terrible. but I'm
I'm so
just
sorry.
keeping my body reliving it again and again by constantly being like, this thing happened. And sorry, I'm gonna wrap up real quick what I'm saying. This kind of like reminds me of a video that I watched before by Fearless Soul where it was about forgiveness and letting go, and they said something that always stuck with me since 2019. And what they said is forgiveness is giving up the hope that the past could have been different. And just like healing, rehearing that really freed me because it's like when we're really looking back, when we're like, oh, I should have done this differently, or they should have done this differently, it's not fair. And true, it isn't fair. But really, what's happening is like there's this still lingering hope that I wish it could have been different. I wish it could have been different. I wish it could have been different. That in itself is a form of grief. And when you process that grief, that's when you're going to move through that shift of your identity. So the grief is like the portal to that identity death.
True, I completely agree with that. And that hope bit is little too real. In fact, it applies to all the situations because I often talk about it in my sessions all the time because there are a lot of people who have like really bad attachment issues with the people that they are probably trying to manifest. And there's this lingering hope in the uh, past, something that they're holding on to for
Yeah,
their dear life, which does not really help you. And coming to the part where you spoke about that, pointing fingers at people really does not help. Grief stays with you. There's no doubt about it. I come from a very dysfunctional family, and for the longest time it took me a lot of effort to say ki, okay, I have a void. That understanding that I have a void, which is probably just going to stay with me, is also something that people don't really want to come in terms with. Because for as
hmm,
long as I keep on saying my parents did this, because I've done this, okay,
right.
I can't even say that I've not done this. For the longest time, I was like, my father was like this, my mom did this, and my grandparents did this, and the whole culture is fucked. It is, no doubt. They still are very much fucked. But the thing is, it was not helping me. And it was kind of a distraction from the void that it left in my life. Like, I grew up without uh, a functional family, and it leaves you with a lot of paternal presence or this
Mhm.
or that, and that void is real. But if you keep on pointing fingers, you keep distracting yourself from the void, and if you don't look at the void, you don't acknowledge it, you're actually validating nonsense, which is not helping you get better. A lot of times we forget to ask ourselves, is this really helping me get better, or is it making things worse for me? And more often than not, you'll find that whatever you're doing is just making it worse for you. So, if
Yeah,
you really want to break out of your patterns, you kind of need to start asking yourself, is this really what I want to do? Am I really willing to right now invest my energy into this? And do I really see myself um, being okay with this? If I look back, am I going to be like, oh,
right,
okay, did a good job?
right. And often new versions of people come through when you have that internal boundary as well. It's like I'm no longer accepting one, two, three, and four, and five. It's
Yeah.
like if you ever have been in a relationship or friendship and then after the breakup, you're like, I'm done with people one, two, and three. F you. A lot of times, what tends to happen is one of the two, or sometimes both. One, people come back as completely different versions. Two, you meet new people who are literally exactly what you've always been looking for. So it's like, yeah, to me, I remember like the moment I was like, no more toxic connections whatsoever. Ever since I've not had toxic connections. And that's since like 2019, 2020. Ever since I've been like, mm-mm, we either vibe or we don't. There isn't this sense of like gaslighting and abuse. No, 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 no. She's out.
That's
She's out. I would rather eat my own hands than ever experience a pattern like that again. Like, no.
yes, and
I
that's
was just
important.
plug in my charger as you're speaking, so keep
Sure,
going.
go ahead. Yes, go ahead. You take your time. I think that's very important. As all I was saying that coming in terms with that, you need to have boundaries and you need to do better with literally everyone. And I was just about to make a post on this specifically for women because I don't know what is really up with men anyway. So uh, with women, I really feel that if you want to move forward and you want to have a good life and you're trying to manifest a good life, like overall a good life, not a good career or not a good man, just a really amazing life altogether, it's very important for us to decenter men and family, because those are the two places where we are constantly
Mhm.
told and preached to,
Mhm.
be boundaryless. So I think that's one
Yeah.
thing. I have this big thing. I see currently in the community that a lot of women are moving towards that phase where they are decentering men from their life, but families still hold a lot of value, especially like
Oh yeah.
South Asians. For us, families are like really important, and we're
Mhm.
supposed to be,
Mhm.
as women at least, we are supposed to be like the caretakers and the caregivers of the family. And if you don't fit into that role, you're doing injustice in a way. That's how they portray it
Right.
to you. So if you are a woman who's trying to, constantly build a life for herself and really wants a good life, which is not focused on anything but herself, I would highly recommend just decentering family, decentering men, and that's going to take you to places that
Ooh.
nothing else will.
As an ethnic woman, I get this. I think with ethnic families, I love that we have such a tight knit. I love that we're all close and we value each other's opinions and all of that. However, sometimes it turns into a level of like constant need for approval. And as much as I've seen like a lot of my clients, like even they move out, they're now in like their mid 30s, they have a new partner, but there's still this sense of like, oh, is my family going to approve? You don't necessarily say it along those lines, but there's still like this sense of like holding on to like, I just want that approval. I just want that approval. Because growing up, you were taught that your connections, your choices are invalid unless somebody says yes. And someone who you felt a level of, when it comes to family or parents, obviously there's a power dynamic. So you might have felt inferior. And that tends to also manifest with like a lot of the clients' SPs or specific partners, because when you have a person on such a pedestal, you almost like fall back to the same dynamic when you were young, where it's like there's an authority figure
Yeah,
that is like there's a bit of a dynamic, and you're here, they're up here, and so you start to like, oh, I can just affirm away the disrespect when it's like you would not tolerate disrespect, and even if she wants the person, yeah, she would only accept XYZ, and it's okay to validate that you have specific feelings, but internally and externally, you would not ever tolerate something that specific behavior, and that's what allows you to actually experience a new reality.
that's absolutely true. And I also feel like sometimes, because of how our family system is, we do end up taking a lot of nonsense and a lot of toxicity actually in the name of family
Mhm.
values. We are big on respecting,
Yeah.
and we are big on this and that and that. And I have seen this happening quite a lot, that a lot of times, I don't know if I can say it. Just a second. I'm so sorry. Give
Sure.
me a minute.
Sure, sure. Take your time.
Huh. So a lot of times I hear this or I see this. There is so much shame. Like if you come towards our particularly like South Asian community, there is a lot of shame around having, maybe let's say, multiple partners. Not even like 10 partners, just like 2, 3 partners. There's a lot of pride attached to that. Oh, I was only with one man for the like whole for whole my life. There's a lot of pride in that, and there's a lot of shame in saying, oh, I had multiple partners, or I quit a relationship, or this or that. And I see women desperately holding on to relationships because they feel like they gotta do it.
Hmm.
And that internalized shame is so much there. And the same goes for actually sex. I don't know if I can say sex here, can I?
I don't
Without
know
it.
what YouTube will do. I don't know
uh,
that word. Yeah.
let's not go ahead.
You can. I think you can have this conversation, but I don't know if the term is allowed on YouTube. I don't know. I'll just yeah.
uh, let's just say like a physical activity thingy going
Interesting.
on. Yeah. Okay. Like intimate stuff, let's put it that way.
Yeah.
That a lot of times I see clients, young clients specifically, they want to engage intimately with partners or this or that, but they don't simply do it because of how deeply the shame is ingrained in them. And one statement that I consistently hear is, oh, I don't mind people who do it, but I just don't think it's for me,
Hmm.
which carries so much weight.
Right.
because the moment you see someone else doing it, you know you're going to judge them, even though
Right.
you have come in terms with this new ideas, these modern ideas, in a way that you're like, okay, I'll not shame people, but I don't think I am going to do it because I'm morally like on a
Mm,
pedestal in a way. This is the conversation I've repeatedly had with a lot of clients,
right.
and I genuinely feel that this can get much better if we start decentering so much of approval and culture and values, and just
Yeah.
focus on what we want.
Yeah. And the thing also about the identity work, like for it to be embodied, the decisions have to come from a grounded place, like what you mentioned about intimacy. For instance, like for me, intimacy for marriage is a no for religious reasons. But where I'm coming from, it feels grounded rather than I'm
Yes.
ashamed of myself.
Yes.
That
It
makes
comes from power rather than shame. But when someone says it with shame, you can sense it. It's
yeah,
there in their physical, I don't know,
my emotional
non-verbal
body. Yeah.
language. Yeah, you can just see it, right? And I see it so much, and I'm like, sometimes I have also seen that a lot of women specifically, they don't leave relationships specifically because of this reason, which goes on to, tell you about how deep it is ingrained.
Right.
Something that needs to really
Right.
change. And that becomes a part of your identity.
Okay. So to break it down, let's say somebody is working on changing a specific identity. How would you guide them, or what are the steps or tips that you would suggest in general to shift your identity? And then when you're going through an ego death, what do you suggest to allow them to move through it towards the new identity?
Okay, just give me a minute. I gotta just attend my cat for 1 minute and then I'll
Sure.
come right back to it. She's been crying like anything.
Sure.
Yes, I'm back. Okay, so yes, hi. I'll just go in a little bit of details about this one. And the first thing that I think I would like to touch upon is how identity is shaped. Okay. When it comes to identity shaping, it's actually shaped quite early in your life. This is not to say that you can't shape it later or change it later. It is just to give you an insight about how you start identifying with things. It could be something as simple as, let's say, you're someone who used to play a particular instrument when you're a kid. Your parents will start saying, "Oh, our kid is amazing at this." They'll go around telling people about how good you are at it and how much you love it and this and that. And then before you know it, it kind of becomes a part of your identity. Before you come in terms of whether you
Right.
even like it or not. Because as kids, we don't really know what we like. We're just going around doing things. And then suddenly it's like, oh, here we are. Our kid really likes this, and this is what he does. Now, if you want to do something else, also you're somewhere reminded of, oh, you do that well, but. And the
Mm,
reminder is just reinforcing that identity for you. If you grow up,
right.
you don't want to play the same instrument, and let's say you want to go into swimming. You're reminded that, but oh, you're very good at that, no? Why don't you continue with that? And when that happens, it kind of reinforces your identity and it makes you feel like you're now stuck with the same identity. Also, because um, as parents, they have a big control over your life. Whatever they say goes. Let's say you want to go for swimming lessons, but you have already started with a instrument lesson. you don't really get much of a say in there. You just got to do what they are expecting you to do, right? And that's how basic identity is built with little things that you do. For example, if you're someone who socializes, a kid does not really know what socializing is like, but then you are labeled as a very social kid, and that just has to be your identity growing up also later on, even if it causes you social anxiety. But no, you were very good with people when you were a kid, and that has to live with you. That's how they make it. Now, as we grow older, with every experience, these are some things that parents do and that may add to your identity, but there are other things. For example, if you are at school and someone bullies you and you're
Mm-hmm.
told certain things, and high school bullies can be nasty, we all know it. Someone bullies you, you're told a certain things, and you start then, making it your identity because you have, as of then, no sense of self. It is
Right.
still developing. So that space is empty and someone else fills it with their words. And if those words are positive or negative, that's what really decides whether
Right.
you're going to have a good self esteem or a good identity or not. This also, your identity is also impacted by your parents' relationship. If you really did not see affectionate parents, or them not being affectionate with each other, that also adds to how you see relationship, which eventually becomes your story and then your identity. That, oh, I always come across terrible men. Oh, I always come across men who trigger my abandonment. Oh, I always come across men who reject me, or who are like this or that or that. And then slowly it becomes your identity, and that's all that you come across. Now, here's the thing, you can always change it with two things. The first is very focused attention. I'm a big fan of visualization.
Mm-hmm.
I have seen great results with visualization for myself and for my clients also. The thing with visualization is, if you want to do an identity shift, I would highly recommend it. But there's a right way to do it. And the right way to do it is, first, it's not daydreaming. A lot of us have confused it with daydreaming, which is literally just thinking of multiple things at a time, having multiple browsers open in your head, and you just moving around like a headless chicken in very simple words. So when it comes to visualization, there's focus. That is step one, and that's exactly how I would. The first thing, if you ask me, like, what is the one thing you would say that it works amazingly for identity shifting, I would say visualization. And of course, there are multiple researchers which back this up.
Right.
The first thing is, you got to focus on yourself. A lot of times our visuals are about other people. You can't really be like, other people treat me well, and then visualize that I'm being treated, other people are coming up to you and saying nice things. You need to visualize that you're in a social setting and you're going up to people and you're having these lovely conversations and you're feeling amazing about yourself. The focus needs to be you. I think, in my experience and with all the research that I've read and heard and whatever, it is repeatedly shown that if you make the focus you in your visualization, you will get amazing results. And another thing is, for as long as the focus is you, you can create any result that you want. This applies to literally all the things. It may be physical appearance changes, it may be health related things, it may be money, it may be success, it may be love, anything. But if you make it about other person, because what really happens is you put the power in other person's hands. And I say this for affirmations also. If your affirmations are more about, he loves me, he loves me, he loves me, he loves me, you're putting the power in his hands. And it's not really about you anymore,
Right.
because someone can love you and you may not feel loved by them at all. So you gotta bring it back to yourself. You
Right.
need to be like, I feel loved by this person. If you're an affirmation person,
Yeah.
same goes for visualization. You, everything should be catering you, and you should be feeling fulfilled from within. If that's not happening, like you said, in the beginning, you said that you can have everything and still feel terrible about yourself. That's exactly what
Mm-hmm.
happens when your focus is others.
Right.
And you feel like temporary satisfaction is good, which all of us like. But the thing is, it's not really going to help you in the longer run. I always tell my clients this: okay, you can have that man in 3 days, But let's say he comes and you still feel terrible and you feel like you're the worst person ever. What are you going to do about it? He's not going to fix that for you. And
Right.
you move in together, you start living in together. At the end of the day, you still have to come back to yourself. He is going to fall asleep and you will be wide awake with yourself. A lot of people think that they can just run away from things, from people, from circumstances. That's not how it works. So the first thing, very focused visualization, just 10 to 15 minutes a day, and making sure when you are in that visualization it serves you, you feel the way you want to feel in the 3D. So that would be the first thing I would teach anyone who's trying to.
Mind if I just ask real quick? Because a lot of people have questions about the feeling. When you
But
say feeling, do you mean naturalness or do you mean the intense emotions like the lovey-dovey, the
I
joy?
am meaning that, let's say, okay, think of it this way. I want to, let's say, achieve success, okay? And what I really need to do is to achieve success, I don't really need to be seeing how I am surrounded by maybe successful people. I need to come back to myself. It's not really about feeling like an intense thing or feeling a certain way. It is more about looking at myself, entering a room in a particular manner. For example, maybe very polished, maybe with a certain grace. And all those things trigger a natural reaction for all of us. It's like simply assuming that you have one, how do I put it? Let's say you're holding a bottle, imaginary bottle in this hand, and you're holding a tennis ball in this hand. You can feel the texture of the tennis ball. It's very hard to not feel it if you have touched a tennis ball ever in your life,
Yeah,
right? And if you have not touched a tennis ball ever in your life, if you have just seen it, you can still feel the texture.
right.
That's all the feeling is. I am not expecting you to go crazy and, have the intense feelings and this and that. None of that.
Yeah. Even with like thinking about it in business, it's like I don't feel happy all the time. I feel
Yeah,
proud.
none of us
I
do.
see myself as like, damn, I'm a leader, but it's
Yeah.
not like, oh, I'm like all the time. Maybe a little
Yes.
bit after a client call when I talk about like an exciting topic, but that's about it.
Yes. So that's the thing. I don't mean feeling in that way. I mean simply see if you realistically put yourself in any situation and you're visualizing it with focus, 80% of the time you will get it right.
Right.
You are going to tap into it. There's no chance that you're not going to tap into it because I've done this exercise so many times with my clients on. Oh, with my clients, with on master classes, and every time I'm like, okay, just imagine, spread your hands out, imagine you're holding a tomato in one hand and a tennis ball in the other. You can feel the texture difference. You're not even putting so much focus into it and you can still
Right.
feel it. So if you put genuine focus into something, I refuse to believe that you'll not be able to tap into it.
Yeah.
Also, a lot of times when people say that nothing is coming up for me, you are doing the visualizing wrong. Like I said, if you make it too much about the external world, you're not going to feel good. And
Yeah.
that's exactly what a lot of people do. So that's another problem. Now, another thing is just the visualization is not enough. And this is not me going on a rant about mental diet. This is simply a very realistic thing. If I visualize for 15 minutes in the morning, I need to carry the same energy throughout the day. And that same energy does not have to look positive, it can simply look like alignment. You can have deliberate thoughts. I love this one theory, which is basically whatever environment you are in, you are constantly going to have sensations coming from all around you. You pick up your phone, you are around your family, this and that. Everything's going to trigger something for you. Perception is what decides how it's going to shape your reality for you. You
Right.
have complete control over your perception. That's where uh, I would say another identity shift occurs in a way, because your perception on things, the moment you become mindful of your perception and you start seeing things with a new lens, that's one of the biggest tools to shift identity.
Right.
And that is where behavioral practices come in place.
Hmm.
Because let's say you wake up in the morning and you're waking up at 12 just because, oh my god, I'm just so done with everything. Not because you needed the rest. If you needed the rest, it's a different thing. but oh my god, I really just don't want to get up. I don't really have anything to look forward to. So you lie in your bed till 12, and then you get up, and then you're just, going around the house. You have not had anything. You are cranky. You're done. You're already doomed in a way. I'm not saying you can't already you can't fix your day, but I'm saying that you are already doomed. You have not
Yeah.
had anything.
Oh,
You
God
have
forbid if I ever wake up cranky. Oh no, it's not my day.
Yes, exactly. And see, we all have cranky days. No denying it. But the thing is, whatever you're engaging in will decide whether you're going to have tomorrow a cranky day or not.
Yeah,
Sometimes the environmental factors come in, I get it. But more often than not, it's our own doing. Specifically, if you're having consistent cranky days only.
right.
If
And just to add to that real quick, something that I found helpful is before going to bed, let's say I've been having a terrible week and I've been in a specific mindset about myself. What I like to do at night is decide that how I'm going to I'm going to show up tomorrow, how I'm going to feel, and like what are my genuine intentions. Because what that does is like it gives instructions to your brain and to your subconscious as you're going to bed, so it preps you for tomorrow. It's kind of like when you know you have to wake up for something important, you keep waking up in the middle of the night because you put it in your head that, yeah, like you shoved it in your brain that, oh my God, at 7 a.m. I have to be up for this important event. So the same goes here. So that is also a good way to like prep yourself to show up as new self the next day.
this actually reminds me of how neuroplasticity really works, because neuroplasticity is triggered by focus but actually executed with deep rest and sleep. So that this is a very good example of how one can execute it and how one can actually change their neural pathway. I like to do a similar thing, which is I'm a big crybaby. Okay, so I like my cribbing a lot. I really need to get everything out of my system, and that's just my thing. So what I do is, if I have had a terrible day, I'll sit and I'll write it all out. I don't care what kind of shitty terrible things I've got to say, I am going to write it out, and then I'm done, because it really gives me a release.
Oh
Once
yeah,
I'm at peace, I sleep, I wake up tomorrow. I don't give myself excuses, because the next morning is usually terrible and I
right,
don't feel like waking up and I don't feel like doing a lot of things. So I don't give myself excuses. I wake up,
right.
I set intentions for the day, and very generic one. The
Yeah.
ones I know I am going to achieve.
Hmm. I
I
like
do that.
that. Yeah, go on.
Yeah, go ahead.
I like what you said as well about like if I really want to let it out, because I know that a lot of times it's like don't repeat the old story, and it's true. Most of the day, don't repeat the old story. But if you're somebody who's like you feel like you're going to explode if you don't talk about it, 5 to 10 minute timer, get it all out, get it all out, get it all out. Once the timer goes off, you're cut off. That's when you're going to be regulating. That's when you're going to be implementing your new practice or your new perspective, and so on and so forth. So it's always closing as new self. But it's like if we really need to get it out and process it, 5 to 10 minutes, timer on. Once the timer goes off, you're done. You're cut off. That's
Yes.
a boundary, and that's training yourself to be diligent, to be consistent.
Yes. Another thing that I do, and I teach my clients also, which I really love, because I'm a big journaling person. Whenever I have to do a cribbing journal, and I know, oh, great. Yeah, so whenever I have to do like a journal for cribbing and just letting it out or release or whatever, I always make sure that I end it at a good note. And a good note does not really have to be positive. I Sometimes it's just me writing at the end that I'm so grateful that I had the time and the energy and the resources to crib and journal, and had the mental capacity to understand I need a release. So I'm grateful for all the regulation work that I have done that allows me to do this,
Right.
and that's good enough point.
Yeah, and that is something I also have been telling my clients recently, which is like you want to hammer in that you're the person who's generally regulated, who prioritizes her mindset. So even in my scripting, if it's like a day when I'm like, I don't want to focus on my desires, I really, really make it about like, okay, so I'm somebody who usually tells a new story, and when I do, I actually really enjoy it. It's a turn off for me to even think of looking back. Like that doesn't interest me. It really doesn't. What I like to do is like check in on myself, give myself a little hug. It's like if I'm telling myself these things as well, I'm also training myself to be the person who likes to do those things. It's kind of like I hated the gym. I used to say like I would much rather sit with the person I dislike the most than ever step foot in the gym. Now that's my favorite space in the world. That's the place I want to go to like 4 times a week if I can, and I'm gonna make that now a habit. And so it's just like really training yourself. Eventually, it's like if you never liked salad and then you start eating it, eventually your body does get used to it. We're creatures of habit, and we're all wired for change. There's no such thing as being stuck. There is such thing as repeating a pattern and then lying to yourself and telling yourself you've done everything.
That's true. I think there are a lot of points that I relate with also. I had a terrible period last year when my dog passed away, and I got in this terrible habit of eating whatever the fuck came near me. I would eat chips and I would drink carbonated drinks and this and that. And that was at times my meal. Imagine having chips and carbonated drinks for your meal. Like you're fucked in the head, right? And then one day, I remember vividly because I was so used to the sugar rush that I used to get from the carbonated drinks that I used to have it at any given chance that I would have. And one day, I was about to start a session with a client, and I just wanted to have something. And my first go to was a carbonated drink. And I picked up a cup, I poured myself some, and I still remember that so vividly because I took a sip. I was like, I don't even like the taste. Why the fuck am I drinking it? I kid you not, it was back in December or January, somewhere around that time, and it's August, and I've not had carbonated drinks, and I've not even like felt like having it anymore.
Yeah,
Same goes for a lot of eating habits,
yeah.
and another thing is a lot of times, specifically when it comes to identity shift, because I started identifying with, oh, I'm a chips eater. I like really like munching. I did not like munching. I just started identifying with it. Like you said that, oh,
Hmm.
I would rather just not go to gym and this and that. You
Right.
identified with someone who would just not go to the gym and do anything and everything else. That was me with chips. And then eventually, I lost that identity within seconds. I do not resonate with I don't resonate with it anymore, and that's where our behavioral practices come in actual life wala scenes. If you look at yourself, you started going to the gym and you actually started liking it, but I'm very sure that starting few days were just terrible.
Hmm.
Those are like, what the fuck? I really don't want to do this. Why am I putting myself through it? We all feel that way. That must have been you as well. I'm just assuming this because no one likes new things immediately,
Oh,
right? But once you start doing it, like I right now know that my eating habits are amazing. When I go out, also, I don't really
yeah.
feel like eating, stuffing my face, which is what I was feeling at one
Mhm.
point. I was
Yeah.
stuffing
Yeah.
my face.
Yeah, me
I
too. Like I love food and I will eat what I want when I go out, but now it's like I realize like we live in such a like a binging culture, and I know that's a heavy term to use, but it's like it's so normalized. Like every time you go out, you have to like have everything on the menu. It's like I had pizza last week, thankfully, still healthy, but it's I I don't feel the need now that oh I have to have a whole box and then have cookie dough and then have
Mhm.
I don't know what drink, and it's like no no I just trained myself differently, and it's still the stuff that I like, and I don't feel like I'm um what's it called, like restricting myself, you know.
Yeah.
So it's these habits that it's like yeah that's going to serve me and I like it, and it's important for me to train myself to have a healthy relationship with food where I'm not like waiting for every Friday so that I can eat like a cow. It's like every day I'm enjoying every single thing I'm putting in my mouth. And if I want to have occasional something here and there, or even I know there are people even eat out every day. It's just that they know how to like control the portions. That's these are the
Eat
people you have a
well, meet their body requirements. Yeah.
yeah. It's kind of
I
like
get
what
that. No, I was the cow you were referring to. I was the cow who would just eat and eat and eat and stuff my face. I really enjoyed that at one point because that was my way of controlling my emotions.
I can't.
I could just eat a box of pizza all by myself and still be like, I need something to munch upon. Exactly.
I have a
I'm not.
terrible story that I shared with my sisters recently, and they couldn't stop laughing. I was just like, listen, I'm just gonna say it. I was like, I love pizza. There was a point in,
Sorry.
there was a point in time because my eating habits were so terrible. I remember coming out of uni. I got from Papa John's a stuffed crust pizza, and I started eating the pizza in the bus, like in the back seat. That is just embarrassing to think about. No, I was like, I sat in the back and I was eating my pizza in there because it's like I trained myself to not be able to stay away from food at that time.
But I resonate a
Like a
lot with
scene from a
it.
movie.
I get it. I completely get it because there was this friend of mine who was at the same time doing the same shit as me, and we went to McDonald's that day, and we both ordered like 4 meals, two each. What the hell? And we were so sure we could, finish that. So yeah, I do get that eating thingy. And then it's bad, it's terrible.
And then I ended up having to go to therapy for it. So
I didn't tell my therapist I did all of this. I was too scared to tell her this. Uh, sorry.
oh my god.
Just- yeah. So, yep, done that. And the identity became of someone who binge eats, who loves binge eating. And there are so many memes around binge eating that you almost forget being ashamed of it. That was me because I
Hmm.
was seeing all these memes and they were just normalizing it for me. Huh, binge eating, it's okay, it's
Hmm.
fine. But once you start changing it, like you started putting, regular effort. I started putting regular effort. We no more identify with binge eaters. We're actually very mindful with food and this and that. And that's how you change your identity with behavioral practices. Because
Right.
it's not just that you need to stop binge eating, it's also that you need to replace it with good food,
Right.
which takes a lot of effort. Then after
Yeah.
that, good food with good time. That means you gotta, you know, fix
Right.
your schedule in a way. Because when
Yeah.
we binge eat, there is no time to binge eat.
Yeah.
You're eating
And
anyway,
yeah, and I
right?
like
Like,
that perspective as well because it's like a lot of times what I also see is people is when they try to change an identity, what they do is like go on the complete opposite side. So just a trigger warning, I am eating disorder or disordered eating habits. When sorry, after that phase, I went through a period of like literally being afraid of having even strawberries. Like I would be like, oh calories, oh this, and I was like, it was
yes.
it was definitely that cycle of like binging and starving, and I was even sometimes afraid of having a sip of water because I'm like, oh, that's gonna add to the scale. So it's terrible to. That's why it's really important to use your discernment when you're doing identity shifting to make sure that the habits that you're implementing are actually habits that are healthy that come from new self, not a reaction to old self. And when there's that self hate that I had, that's why I went to the other direction. It was rooted in shame. It wasn't rooted in genuine, grounded self love.
True, I completely agree with that. I think a lot of times what I see in the manifestation community is not necessarily related to identity, but a lot of decisions that people make about their lives are actually not true desires. And I'm going
Hmm.
to get so much hate for this. But they're based on your older identity that you refuse to shed because there's so much that you're holding on to there.
Hmm.
A lot of people find themselves in terrible positions because of this. And I'm going to say this, it's mainly in the cases of SPs or X's that you're trying to
Hmm.
that's a very controversial statement in the manifestation community because oh my god, you can have anything you want and anyone you want. You can. That does not mean anything and everything is good for you, right? Anything and everything is coming out of a good place. That does not guarantee that. And that's a conversation that the community is probably not ready to have, so I'm just going to leave it at that. uh, Back to the identity shifting. So you got to correct a lot of things to eat on time. For example, if I want to eat at 6, I can't really be having calls scheduled for 6:15. So I got to make
Hmm.
my schedule better.
Yeah.
If I am eating at 6, then I know I need to have early breakfast, which means I need to wake up early, which
Hmm.
means I also need to go to bed early.
Right.
All the behavioral changes are just as important as the eating part is, because if all these things fall out of place, I am probably going to find myself eating crap.
Hmm.
I wake up late one day, then I'm going to want to eat something like which is a quick fix, and
Yeah.
then I'll find maybe like some instant noodles and I'll have it. And there goes all the training that I had put myself through. This is exactly how identity shifts work. That you just don't change one thing. If you have bad attachment style, let's say, you can't just change one thing about your attachment style. You will have to change a lot of behaviors. You'll have to change a lot of patterns. For example, if you have anxious attachment style, which a lot of women have, you may wake up to always wanting a text from your person. It's not wrong to want a text.
Hmm. Yeah.
It's quite sweet actually. But the thing is, if you don't get that text, as an anxious person, you are going to be like, I'm so sorry. As an anxious person, you're going to be like, oh, this person has lost interest in me, or what happened here? So, if you want to break that, if you want to get rid of your anxious attachment, you probably will have to limit your screen time. You'll have
Yeah.
to stop
And
picking up your phone first thing in the morning, right?
And definitely when I
And
always look at this, I'm like, the meaning you're attaching to yourself in that moment is like you're someone who gets forgotten, you're someone who's not important, there's somebody that people lose interest in. That is
yes,
also part of the identity work. Because it's like two things, like the same thing can happen to two people. One person will make it something, will take it personally and make it mean something negative about them, their self concept. The other person will just move through it in a different way, keeping
hmm,
the new identity in place, even if like the action is not something that you prefer. But again, there's a difference between coming from changing that reality from a grounded place and changing that reality as a form of reaction and as a form of hate towards self.
I think this is something that's common. If you've seen, I at least have had this conversation with a lot of women that I am doing everything right, and I'm amazing. I take care of my health. I have very secure attachment style and this and that, everything. And still, I am not getting the relationship or the man that I want or the money that
Hmm.
I want. But
Hmm.
this other woman who's technically a mess is getting it all. The only difference is your reaction to things, which is where perception comes in. And where
Hmm.
I said that you have all
Yeah.
these situations coming from all around you, all you have in control is your perception.
Right. And the reaction, I think people think it's always referring to the spiral, but a reaction is also up here. The meaning you make it in that moment, if it's like, oh, see, it's happening again. And a lot of women, and I've been through it this year, are identifying as like, I do so much and I get so little. It's kind of like giving the energy of like, I'm giving in a relationship and I get nothing, but that's a relationship with manifestation. Not people are not ready for this combo. So it's not just going to be a list of like affirmations. It's really going to be like, what is your relationship with manifestation? Because sometimes what that is your projection of your relationship with God, religious trauma filtered through that. That because if you grew up feeling that you are unworthy, if you haven't done XYZ enough, that God doesn't love you and it gives everyone else but you, and you get nothing, and now you have to beg for it. And people experience that same frustration with the manifestation process, which is also a universal law. So it's all of these elements. That's why we really look at like the foundation of who you are, the upbringing,
Yeah.
for understanding and clarity, not because, oh, if you don't know the root of it, then you're not going to be able to heal it. There's
Yes.
It's impossible to know every single root of everything. If you look back at the last 2 days, you will not remember the details of every single thing. Your conscious mind cannot take on that much. You're not fucking Hulk, you know? So sorry, more my language.
That's okay. I'm the last person who's worried about language. I cuss a lot. Go ahead. So yeah, I completely agree with whatever you're saying, and understanding things. I think looking at how things are playing out for you is, in my experience and what I have done with my clients and how I have shaped my programs over the years, is I need to look at where you come from, and I mean literally everything. I don't care how irrelevant you think that thing is, specifically your culture. That to me is very, 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 very
Yep.
important.
Yep.
Where you come from, what kind of family it was. Was it a Jew? joint family? Was it a nuclear family?
Right.
How were you raised? Who and all had control over your life? Because in South Asian families, like we discussed, it's not just your parents who have control over you.
Yeah.
It's literally every fucking relative.
Hmm.
All of them are somehow controlling your life, and they're not even related to you that way. So I need to know that. I need to know everything, and then I need to know what is happening with you right now and what you're doing, and I need to see it for myself also, because you are probably not the best judge of what is happening with you. And I say the same for myself. That's why I have a coach and a therapist, because I need to go there and reflect on my own doings, because I'm not perfect either, right? Exactly, because it's very easy
I
to
always have
see it
mentors.
from one particular lens. Yeah, that's very
Yeah.
important. I think I have always had, if not a coach, because with coaches I'm a little on and off, but I've always been with a
Yeah.
therapist, regardless of what stage I'm at in life. So that third person perspective is, I think, what a coach or a therapist really gives to you, which is very, very, very important for you to, kind of see what you're doing.
Hmm.
So in my experience, I need to look at whatever you have been through, however you have been raised, what your life has been like, and then I need to look at what's happening right now, and then I need to look how you're actually reacting to it in real life. You're telling me that, oh, I didn't really call him. You probably didn't call him, but when you come to the sessions, then I'll get to see what you actually did mentally. Your inner chatter is going to reveal to me what you truly did, and that's more important to me.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
those two things are a good way, and I think I would highly recommend everyone getting a coach, actually, because that third person perspective that you get on your
Oh yeah.
life, on your behavior, and this and that, and what you actually need to correct, that you can't really do with a lot of self reflection. Also,
Yeah.
I'm not saying you can't self reflect. You should be able to, and you should be able to take
Hmm. Hmm.
necessary
Yeah.
action.
Yeah.
But let's be honest, we get so caught up with everything that's happening around
Right.
us that we almost forget that there could be a another thing happening, or my reaction triggering something more.
And this is honestly one of the reasons I also did this summit because there are a lot of coaches out there. Not everybody knows how to meet you where you're at. And
True.
it's so easy to just sell a bunch of affirmations and call it, oh, we did the deep inner work. Oh, I
Yes.
found out in your childhood you were left behind, so now I've never been left behind. So,
That's not how you literally
like,
stop that. The first thing is admitting you were left behind, and you're still probably feeling left behind, and it's okay for you to feel this way, and it does not necessarily have
yeah,
to now be an event in your life.
yeah. Hmm.
I think this is something I keep on screaming, that you could be in the most perfect fucking relationship and at the same time feel abandoned, and it's
Yes.
perfectly
Oh,
okay. It's okay for you to feel abandoned. Just because you're feeling abandoned does not mean you're going to be abandoned. And you don't have to feel held and secure all the time. You're a human being. You're not a machine that can be programmed.
right.
And
Yeah, and again, a lot of the coaching is also a bit reactive as well in the sense that what you just said, like sometimes your person is gonna be at work. Just because you want to hug in that moment, it doesn't mean you're entitled to it. With all the love in the world, I know people don't want to hear this. It's like I can have anything. They call me as they're working. Your person needs to develop a backbone and focus on the work meeting. The fuck? Like, excuse me.
I mean,
If you're
I
calling me right now, I'm like, hello, I'm doing something. you know.
true, agreed. And you would not want this for yourself.
And a lot of people will teach, oh, just affirm that. Oh, during his work meetings, he's calling you sexy. You can stop thinking about you. It's like I love that you think about me all the time, but can you focus on your job when it's time to focus on your
Can you
job?
have a life?
Like that's what is a healthy connection. Like two healthy individuals coming together, building life together, growing old together while having
They're
your
separate
own
people.
self-sovereignty, your own friendships, your own career, if you want one. That's what how you two come together without constantly needing validation because otherwise what you're coaching the person to do is to constantly seek validation from this person. You're not actually coaching them what it means to give yourself internal validation.
I think that's what a lot of coaching is all about, because I do see affirmations sometimes from a lot of pages, and I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with you all? He's obsessed with me. Do you know how terrible it would be if someone is obsessed with you? Do you realize the intensity of the word obsession in general?
Yeah.
But uh, it's there, and that's why a lot of coaching has become ineffective, because
Oh
it just gives you a lot of nonsense. And coaching is supposed to be liberating and freeing. It
yeah.
has become quite the opposite, which is it keeps you trapped and it keeps you stuck.
Mm,
And that
I-
literally just kills the whole purpose of the
you're right.
coaching.
Right.
So I do agree with you there, but the thing is, you kind of align with the coach depending upon the mental state you're in.
Yeah.
So that's just
You're
there.
watching this. She's amazing, and so am I. So.
Oh yeah, you can book us. We are amazing. I don't
Uh,
know about the rest
oh
of
yeah.
them.
I'll also drop your socials in the description, so if anybody wants to find your page, I'll drop it in, like after
You
this.
drop it. Yeah, yeah, that would be the best. Yeah. So yeah. Okay, so back to it. The thing is, with identity shift, you need to actually make healthier choices in regards to everything. And you need to correct behaviors, you need to engage in behavioral practices, a
Yeah.
little bit of CBT maybe if you have a
Yeah.
therapist. If you're someone who intellectualizes a lot, CBT might not work for you. So for you, somatic practices will work better. Look
Mhm.
into that.
Yeah.
All these things, it's going to be a collective effort. And if you think
Right.
that one day I'm just going to wake up and visualize something that's going to happen, you are a fool. And someone who's telling you that is also a fool. That's the most decent, fucking respectful way I can put it out there for you. So pick your people nicely, pick your processes sensibly, and move ahead with it only when you're sure of what you want and have a lot of clarity. Please have clarity, and I
Right.
would say clarity starts at understanding where you truly are, then deciding
Hmm.
where you don't want to be, absolute no
Right.
goes, and then deciding where you want to be. So you actually have clarity. A lot of us have vague ideas about, oh, I want a man who is like really in love with me. Great. But what he should not be doing, have you decided that? Where you are at currently with your understanding of men and how you perceive them and how you approach them, where are you with that?
Right. Yeah.
Equally.
Yeah.
So
So to sum up the 3 steps, can you just sum up real quick? There were 3 steps because I know we went on tangents.
that's okay. So the first step would be clarity for me.
Hmm.
Second step would be visualizing and perception. And
Right.
third step would be behavioral practices, everyday behavioral
Right.
practices would be to change it all.
Mhm. So I know
So,
we're way over time. So just if you can give one quick tip as to how can somebody move through an ego death without reverting back to old self.
okay. Like I said, I think take away the clarity from the first one because that keeps you hooked. You know the
Right.
direction you're going towards, you know your goal, that keeps you going. Second thing is a lot of discipline. A lot of people think that you can just simply sit and chill and things will happen for you, even though things are supposed to be like that for you. For things to happen like that for you also, you need to be disciplined. So
Hmm.
understand any day your feelings are less important than discipline and the life that you want for yourself. The
Right.
feelings can come and go. So one thing, if I have to wrap it up, is would be that your feelings don't really need to translate into actions. If you don't feel like doing something, does not mean you don't have to do it. It just
Right.
means you don't feel like it. Literally, leave it at that. A lot of us stop or don't do things because I didn't feel like it. Fine, you didn't feel like it. You can still do it. You were not
You're not
incapable
a
of.
child. I mean, you don't. Nobody feels like changing the diapers or taxes. So you do them
Yes,
anyway. You're not a child.
exactly.
You know.
Yes. So one thing to go smoothly through an ego death and make sure that you cross the bridge and reach there is do not give in to your feelings. Be disciplined. Do what it takes. And if you don't think you're worthy of putting that much into yourself, then no one can absolutely help you.
Yeah. I agree, and I honestly love that. You're direct. You're as direct as I am, and because I'm like at a space where it's like I don't want to have to convince you that it's important to work on yourself. If you're ready to actually have change, then we will talk about the resistance that you experience sometimes to implementing this work. As I mentioned, there's frustration toward the process, and that's something to be worked through. Versus, oh, I just didn't feel like it. Then you're just here to
Yeah.
vent.
And you can go vent to your friends. I'm not here for you to vent to. I am here for my friends to probably vent to, but not for you. I'm a coach. You're paying me. I have a service to deliver here. And if you don't let me do that, that's injustice to both of us, because you're
Yeah.
disrespecting my work and you're disrespecting yourself in the process. So,
Yeah.
yes, would be that I would say.
Okay. So, Do you have any last minute advice, words, anything you want to say before you close? If you want to share anything free
Yes.
or any offer of yours?
I would love to share freebies. I would love if people can reach out to me on my Instagram. It would be easier for me to share the freebie because it's a
Okay.
document, so needs to be
Okay.
attached and this and that.
Sure.
It would be about how to visualize for your new identity or to shift your identity. It's a freebie on that. That would be guiding you through how you can pick your visualization, how to write it down, how to actually visualize, how long to do it for, and how to do it every day consistently without falling back into the habit of not doing anything.
Awesome. I'm just writing here your IG. Let me know
Yes.
if I wrote it right.
Perfect. It's
All
great.
right. Yay, freebie. We love freebies.
Yes.
I might
Oh,
grab it myself actually. So
oh,
I love
yes.
different perspectives. All right.
Oh, it feeds a lot. It helps a lot. You get to see, oh, okay, this could be there. Great.
This was so
Yes.
amazing. Honestly, I had such a good time and we laughed so much.
Yes, it was fun. It was a lot of fun. And
Yeah.
I'm excited to see you on 8th again.
Me too. I'm so excited. Yeah, we're going to be talking about love. We're going to go into the depths of it on the 8th. We're going to be talking about, there is going to be two other speakers as well. So we're going to be three speakers, including plus me. And we're going to talk about being chosen in worship. We're going to talk about unapologetic womanhood. We're going to talk about what it means to embody the new state in relationships. So it's going to be a fun, juicy combo.
Love it.
And it will be the same time, 1 p.m. CEST on the 8th. I would
I have an
love to see
amazing
you.
freebie for that day. I
Yeah.
built it already because I was so fucking excited for it. And I was like,
Me
I'm
too.
going to do this. Yes.
This is so
Okay.
fun. Thank you so much for joining me and for accepting to be a speaker at
Having
this
me.
event. I appreciate you.
Thank you for having me. I enjoyed it so much. It was an absolute delight. I'm
All
so
right.
excited.
I'll see you soon.
Yes. Bye bye. You take care. I have to see how to leave. Oh,
Oh, and